What up guys, it's Colin from Exo Medical Spa and welcome back to another episode. A couple quick updates. I am fully moved down here in Orange County. Some of you may or may not know I used to split my time between San Diego and Orange County. I was living in downtown San Diego. Fully moved here. Most of everything is in storage. I still haven't found a house. So again, pray for me, leave a comment or give me some clues on how to buy a home in this environment. But going back to what we're doing here in office, still a lot of trainings, still a lot of procedures. The summertime is definitely a popular time for us, so get in while you can. Our typical wait time is about a month and a half. But if you really need to get in for a specific reason, definitely reach out to us and Amber, our coordinator, will help you guys out. But when we come back, let's talk about fillers. When it comes to fillers, you can accomplish quite a few things. You can alter the way you look, you can enhance the way you look, or what I prefer to do is turn back the hands of time and do what age has taken away from you. So I'm just anti-aging you, making you look a little bit younger, putting back what time has taken away from you. As a provider, one of the most important things I can do is make appropriate recommendations to you. When you come into the office, and the reason this is coming up because this was part of my training that I did, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday I went out to a facility and trained them on fillers. Their assumption was they needed to do one thing. The patient thought they needed to do another thing. And there wasn't much of a dialogue between the patient and the provider. So take for example, when we were doing this training, patient came in, didn't really know what they wanted, but the people who were doing injections, they invited these people in because we want to do chin fillers today. We want to do temple fillers today. But when we looked at the patient and they had this conversation, what I like to do is really show the patients what you potentially look with fillers. And then I want to explain to them why I'm doing something. Why am I doing something completely opposite of these providers? And why am I doing something that the patient didn't even really think about that they needed in the first place? Patient number one, what we're learning about, patient came in, their assumption was this patient needed more cheeks. Why? Because they wanted to lift the weight off the front of her face. So their intention was to give cheek filler so they can lift this area. Most circumstances, fantastic. But although I've talked about it over and over in the past where I'm treating every patient the same way, it's just how much product do I put into the patient. In a lot of instances, you have to watch out what the patient looks like, what their anatomy dictates, and what they actually need. Granted, they need lifting, but fillers in this case was not appropriate for this patient. She was overfilled in this area. I didn't know her full history, but looking at her face, let's just say she had no fillers in her face. All her volume sat at the front of her face. Secondarily, she was very hollow in this preauricular lower face. Third, she was very hollow in her temples. And if you guys don't understand the concept of hollowing temples, check the card in the description when I talked about the eyes and how the temples play such an important role. So, if the provider did go about with cheek fillers, we would continue to pump up the cheeks, I'll exaggerate, pump up the cheeks, and granted, we will lift all this weight from this area. However, if you plump out the cheeks this way, what happens is this becomes very high, further accentuating this hollow. If you've looked at the aging population, you'll see it. Women become very gaunt in this preauricular lower face. They look skeletonized. Compound that with fillers in this area makes it look even worse. Now, the temples. If you naturally don't have a temple and your temples look fantastic, if you plump this out, now this is very skeletonized and structured, and now you have a hollow temple. So that was the limitation with this patient. If we did cheeks, it's not necessarily wrong. Yes, you would get the lift, but it would throw this patient out of proportion. So we have to understand what fillers are used for and is it appropriate for this specific patient. Model number two, patient number two. Same thing. When the patient comes in, I ask them to do a full assessment. What are you guys looking to do for this patient? And initially, they brought this patient because they thought they wanted to do chin filler on this patient. I asked them why. I asked the patient, is this what you're looking for? And it wasn't necessarily what she was looking for. So that was kind of the first thing. Really understand what the patient is looking for, because they may come in for lips, but I give butt injections. Does me no good. I always want to address a patient's concern in that order. Now the second part is, they were kind of on the same page. The providers wanted chin because her face was very round and full. Patient's like, I just feel so heavy, I don't know what to do. So between the combo, what they're really trying to figure out is, how do we lift the weight off the front of her face? But they had it right. If a patient is very full, you can't put a lot of cheek filler to lift the patient. Again, limitation of what fillers can do. Second part is, if we only projected the chin because they wanted to give her an anchor and a V shape, if a patient is very round, and if you're just adding anchor, 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 you're keeping this patient bottom heavy. The shape of youth, which we talked about for a female, is that upside down triangle, which I'll pull up in a picture as well, describing mother, daughter, and why mother looks 60 something, why daughter looks 20 something. Because we're going from a pyramid that shows aging to upside down pyramid or V shape that shows youth. So imagine if this female, I'll try to find some pictures that will show this for you guys. If a female comes in 67 years old and they're already bottom heavy, by you adding filler to anchor the bottom of the face, you're just adding more weight and volume to this area. Second portion of this is, you always have to think about ratios and what this patient actually looks like. We talked about fillers can alter the way you look, enhance the way you look, or anti-age. If you're drawing too much away from a patient's natural look, let's just say a patient is naturally very round, Asian face tones, very round, Hispanic face types, very round. If you try to really contour and V-shape them into more of a Caucasian face, it may not look proportional or within ratio. So her profile, and I'll pull up a picture of profiles with weak chins, you have to think of an AE line. What an AE line is, an imaginary line, and if you do this at home, put your finger up against your nose, up against your bottom lip, up against your chin. That line, your nose should touch your bottom lip, should touch your chin. You guys can test this at home. Among those 3 points, if one of those points don't touch that finger, then that's your AE line. With this patient, she had a weak chin, but she also had a weak lip, didn't have much lip. So if they continue to project this chin, well, what happened is you would get chin, 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 chin. Your nose would be out, your chin would be out, and your mouth would be way back there. So you would have a very crescent-shaped face, and I'll try to find some pictures for you. You would have almost like that Jay Leno look, where the chin is just swooping out. So granted, they wanted to do fillers, which they thought was gonna make her look younger, which they thought was the purpose of anchoring and giving her jawline. But if her anatomy doesn't dictate it, if her face doesn't dictate it, then it's not necessarily the right procedure for her. So although both the patient and the provider were focused on that bottom of the face, they're like, she's so bottom heavy. You have to correct the overall picture first, which is lifting all that weight off the front of the face, then work on the contouring piece. Now there's no set rules to this, but it's really having a clinic, a provider, to really explain this to you as to why you need something, why you don't need something, and why you necessarily see one thing is not what we will actually treat. I hope I explained that filler concept well for you guys. So fillers, yes, we can enhance something. Yes, we can change something. Yes, we can just make you look younger, but it has to be used in an appropriate manner. You may come in for lips. You may come in for nasolabial folds. You may come in for temples. But I want to understand, why are you trying to do that? Are you just trying to enhance your lips? Easy, done. Are you pointing to your nasolabial because you see this deep smile line? well, in that case, we're gonna have a bigger conversation in regards to what's going on there. You may come in for heavy eyes, but all of a sudden I recommended fillers to the temples, and you're like, why the heck would you ever volumize my temples? And I would help explain that. So fillers is a great product, but it has to be used right. And all these concepts that I brought over the past 3 weeks, it actually kind of comes all together. It's not the Botox, it's not the fillers, it's not the threads. You can get this anywhere. Any medical office can order Botox, fillers, threads, but it's the provider, it's the hands, it's the mind, it's that plan that you and the provider comes up together that has to make sense to you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this another episode. If you do, give it a thumbs up. And if you liked it and you found it educational, please share it with your friends and family. Everyone's looking for these educational materials. And then continue watching every week where we release a brand new video. Talk to you guys later. Bye.